I'm Robert Williams from MetalRules.com, and joining me tonight in Austin, Texas is Attila, vocalist of black metal legends MAYHEM. How you doing tonight?
So good, man. Great to be here. It's a very nice
That good smile
town,
and just a
Austin.
dirty knife.
Very surprised on this weird, be weird. That slogan, it's awesome. So
Keep Austin weird.
Yeah, keep Austin weird, exactly. And just been out into the Weird Museum, right? What's that?
Weird Museum, yeah.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. All this stuff, really cool. Also, these bars here.
6th Street, legendary 6th Street district. So you're back on tour again in the U.S. with Keepa Kalessin, who you've worked with musically in the past. How does it feel to be playing for your Black American legions in the U.S. once again?
It's great, man. It's good to be back. Good shows. It's good to have Keepa Kalessin on the bill, and yeah, also Hate and Abigail Williams. I think it's a cool package. Good shows been going on, so it's a tough tour, but it's nice, And it's cool to be in the South. I like Texas a lot, actually. So people are very friendly and it's more warm and more spicy.
Yeah?
I like it, yeah.
So it's now been a good 4 years since the release of your last studio effort. Have you guys had any time to start working on music for a follow-up?
Yeah, we have some ideas, but we are not in a rush. But probably next year is a good year for a new record, So that's our plan.
Have you guys started songwriting for that yet, or no?
A little bit, but not too much yet. It's more like collecting ideas, and shaping the things. But yeah, there's something is going on already. So we'll see. It takes some time. But we don't have any concrete title yet or stuff. So
You started working on lyrics yet?
I started to collect ideas, yeah, and I always write a lot, and then I start to, select and stuff. So I have plenty of different stuff. So we'll see.
What's inspiring you lyrically this time around?
Of course, it's gonna be like mystical and obscure, and probably take it from the Ordo record, So it's a couple of different things, like philosophical stuff. It's hard to explain right now, actually. So I should look at it. I already forgot. I like to forget and look at back, So
yeah. Since Blasphemer left the band a few years ago, you recruited former 1349 and Gorgoroth guitarist Tilok into the band. What do you feel he brings to the band's sound?
It's good, we have two guitarists now, like Morpheus and Telok, and it sounds more, more complex in live with two guitars, so it's more vast, more heavy, so I think it's going pretty good. So, and some of the shows went really well, when we find a moment and we play really tight, I think it's great experience, so it's going good. So
now, considering Blasphemer wrote all the music for the last studio effort, tell me, how much will Tilok play a part in the songwriting process for your upcoming material, if any?
I think we're gonna make more like all together the next album, so it will be more like a teamwork. With Blasphemer, it used to be like that, but at the end, he was more confident, so he could lay down more stuff, himself. Actually, we wrote together the last album first, then we presented to the rest of the band, but this time I think we will all work together, and just share ideas and do it that way.
Was it a tough process auditioning guitarists for the new lineup, or did you kind of have in mind who you wanted to replace Blasphemer?
No, I don't know. I thought it's gonna be more tough, but no, it's going smooth, man. It's easy.
It's easy so far?
Yeah.
Tell me about the elaborate stage costumes you've adorned in concert since returning to the band. I understand many of your masks are created by an Egyptian artist named Nadir Sadek. Why do you think the visual aspect of performing has always been so important in this band?
Yeah, it's since the beginning, it's kind of trademark of the band. At least the vocalist has this theatric approach, now myself. And I like to work with different artists sometimes, collaborate. You know, Nader is one of those guys. You know, first he made this impression of my face because he wanted to do some sculptures. This is how I met him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like for his kind of exhibition stuff. So I told him, hey man, you have my face. Can you make some mask? Because I see you work with rubber and stuff. And he made me this mask, you know, and then it was cool. So I asked him, hey, can you do another one? So I used a couple of masks, but it's been like 2-3 years ago. So I don't use that anymore. Also, I worked with a guy who made my costumes. You know, it's a Hungarian guy called Arden. We just designed together. I had the ideas, you know, like for instance the mirror costumes and all this stuff, and we worked out together. He knew how to sew and shit, but I don't know, you know. So there are some other people like for this tour, you know. It's another friend of mine called Paul Booth.
Paul Booth? Okay.
Yeah, he's a tattoo artist, and he provided me a skull, so I can play with that on this tour, you know. So it's always cool to have, you know, it's also good feeling for me because I feel it's Paul.
Yeah, definitely.
His energy. He's a really cool guy.
So were you familiar with the cover art he did for Deeds of Flesh and all the other bands before meeting Paul Booth, or?
Some I saw, but I just saw his paintings. They're amazing. Of course, his tattooing, and that's the top thing. I think now he's doing an exhibition at Giger's Museum, you know, in Switzerland. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
He's going well. I'm happy for him. And
so about 3 years ago, the Life Eternal EP was released through your own Saturnus Records and Season of Mist Records, featuring 5 alternate rough mixes from the De Mysteries Dom Satanas album. Did it bring back memories from the recording sessions when you heard these alternate mixes all these years later? What all do you remember from the De Mysteries sessions?
Well, we were very enthusiastic, you know, and we were totally into the stuff. I remember we recorded the album in a place called Greek Hallen in Bergen. It's a big music complex, and it was so much cool stuff going on. For instance, like Hellhammer recorded his drum in this big empty hall, you know, this big concert hall acoustically, you know, with 2 mics were like hanging from the ceiling, you know. I mean, we use real instruments, like when we didn't use samples, so when there is a gong, we stolen the gong from the, like stolen or rented in that way, the gong from the orchestra, you know, huge Chinese gong.
Stolen?
Not stolen, I mean, in a way. We didn't ask, we just took it and we brought it back, of course. So not many people know that there are actually some electronics on the album. So, for instance, at the end of Funeral Fog, there is this, because Euronymous was into the old synth music too, like Tangerine Dream and shit, so we use an old Moog synthesizer.
Oh, wow.
Like, it's kind of hidden, but it's there. Yeah, it's there. And also, when I recorded the vocal, you know, I just asked that I want total dark, you know, the room and the curtain on the windows so no one could see me. So.
Whose idea was that to use a Moog?
The Moog, I think it was Euronymous' idea.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like an effect, you know, like when you hear at the end of Funeral Frog, this. That's a Moog. So, of course, there was no computer, or were computers, but not like today, not like these samplers and stuff. So it's all analog and all real instruments. So, I don't know. Yeah, I put some candles around, you know, and I was total darkness, and I used like a hand mic, actually. So, that's a special thing.
So, keeping in mind that the album was made shortly after Dead's passing, how did you originally come about to meet Euronymous? How did you guys originally become friends?
It's like I didn't know much about Mayhem actually back then. I already finished Tormentor, my first band, in like '89, and actually it's a funny thing. My stage name was Mayhem. So first I heard about Mayhem, I thought someone was joking. Some friends told me like, yeah, these guys. But then I got a letter, from Euronymous, and that was very polite and humble and cool letter when he expressed who he was, or about Mayhem and stuff, and that they loved so much the Tormentor record that's why they were thinking to ask me to replace that.
Was he looking to sign you to Death Like Silence Productions, or it was just flat out he wanted you to replace Dead?
Yeah, he just wanted me to, to be the next vocalist, or, but that time I was still at my university, so I couldn't move to Norway only for the recording, so I had to come back to finish my studies and get my degree. So, first time, but it's been 2 years actually of talking and mailing, and stuff like that.
Now,
and
at that
came
time,
to the point that I could go to Norway and sing the record.
At that time, had you ever met Dead personally or seen him live?
No, I haven't met him personally. I just heard that I was one of his favorite vocalists, so I was...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's, I think, the reason they also asked me, so I felt very honored for that, and he seemed to be a very nice guy, cool guy, as I heard. So, a real artist too, really fascinated by the other side, let's say.
What was it like for you to step in after Dead and take over his role? Was it tough for you, or become easy?
Yeah, it was. I just wanted to do a little bit different, slightly different, So I was thinking what he would do or what he would like to hear, and try to do my voice according to that, but also, I could scream the whole record, but then we found this darker voice, so everybody liked that so much, so we just used that. I could sing in different ways. So, but I like that. I always like to do something new, that's important for me personally. I don't like to repeat myself, so not musically or lyric-wise or anyway, so.
So how will you always remember Euronymous as both your friend and a fellow musician?
Man, he was really cool, he was good. He was crazy, of course, like we all have these strange ideas, but he was also cool, and very polite, friendly, like a gentleman,
Yeah.
Also very straight, like no drugs, no alcohol. So,
Really?
yeah.
Wow.
So, always busy, always writing, always doing something around the band. So, lot of great ideas, lot of crazy ideas. But some of his ideas sounded very like science fiction back then, but today it's like that. So,
like what?
We wanted to go on tour straight then, and play around the world, and back then, the scene was so small, so that was total surreal in a way to think about it. But today, if you look at the scene, like now, like festivals like Wacken in Europe, their logo is like a huge pentagram, and so like the whole thing is just grown. So it means that he was right, his visions sounded back then crazy, but today it's a lot came true, and that's cool.
So in your opinion, he would have been cool with headlining a festival like Wacken?
Well, we don't headline a Wacken, but it's interesting to play in front of like 50,000-60,000 people,
Sure.
Still. So, and back then, like in 91, 92, it was just, the whole scene was so small, it was just like a seed, you know.
Yeah.
So, but it's grown pretty well, I think. So it's good. It means we were right at some point, you know. Mayhem back then was like #1 Public Enemy band, but today they put us in Norway in a rock museum, you know. So time is changing. So, but I don't think our message changed really. So it's more like the world shaping. So we're getting more open-minded. So it's interesting.
So a couple of years ago, Euronymous' murderer, Varg Vikernes, was released from prison. What is your current opinion of Varg Vikernes, if any?
I didn't talk to him since that, you know. We were kind of friends, good friends back then. But then we lost contact when he got imprisoned. And heard from him. Since that, I heard one of his albums called Belus, which was like this new Boordsum record. I didn't hear the last one. But that was cool, sounded like Boordsum, you know, this kind of melodic, epic, depressive, black metal, cool. So, but I can't share any of his political or personal ideas. It's not my cup of tea, but that's changing with him too, you know. Sometimes he's saying this, sometimes saying that, so it's hard to follow. But I didn't talk to him, so can't comment really. But back then, my impression was that he was really cool and smart, intelligent kid, you know, and good musician too.
And after Euronymous' passing, that opinion didn't change at all, or no?
Of course, I was pissed off, and I was very sad about the shit, what happened, but I had to realize it was their personal issue, you know. It's not like he had problems with me or with the band or with anyone else, you know. It was just their inner issue, you know, which went so far and crazy. But of course, back then we were all young, you know, a little bit more fucked up in that sense, less control.
How old were you at the time?
I was 23.
23, wow.
Actually 22 when we recorded the album, yeah.
So over the past couple of years, you've collaborated with many different artists, including Toby Knapp, Sun, and Jarbo, among many others. You've now, of course, your own project called Void of Voices. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, I just started it like 2-3 years ago. My idea was just to play live and play experimental music, experimental dark ambient stuff using only my voice. My first show was in Moscow with Boren on their Club of Gore from Germany. It's a cool band. And since that I'm just playing live, you know, that's all. So I even didn't release anything. And it's going pretty well. I have like at least like 10 shows a year, you know, and it's a long plan for me. I do that stuff for the far future, actually. So I'm thinking when I will be very old and doing that.
You just played last month with Diamanda Galas. How was that?
It's true. That was awesome. Such a great artist, and it was such a big honor to play with one of my inspirations, you know. So she was super nice, and that was a really, really good show. The same thing, I was lucky to play with Karen 93, and it's great moments when you meet with your old heroes, you know, and play music together. So, but now I did some stuff for Paul, you know. I do some music for my friends, do some intros here or there with the Void of Voices, like release-wise, but it's more about playing live. However, now it's more and more people are like asking that, Attila, when will you just give us some recording, because they would like to listen at home too. So I'm thinking maybe it's time to do something like an album or maybe live recording. I'm not sure yet.
So tell me about working with Toby Knapp. I mean, I understand at one point in time he was almost going to be the guitarist in Mayhem.
Yeah, he was. Like? Yeah, back then, you know, I think what's the name of this magazine?
Metal Maniacs, Rip,
No. It's
Hit.
guitarist.
Guitar World.
Guitar World, exactly. So I hooked up from a guy from Guitar World magazine, and he introduced me to Toby Knapp. And he was supposed to play with us, but there were some logistic problems. You know, it's very hard. It's difficult to have an American guitarist. You know,
Getting from
so
here to there.
yeah, you know, and somehow it didn't work out or couldn't do it. But I still sang a song, and I think he's a really, really talented guitarist, and I wish he will find, or I wish him the best, you know.
Of course,
Because
excellent
he's
guitarist. Yeah.
excellent guitar player. So I missed him. I didn't, because we didn't even play in Denver on this tour because our bus broke down. So I hope that I will see him there, but we even couldn't make it there. But last time I saw him in Denver, and yeah, he's an awesome guy, awesome guitarist.
So, for someone like yourself, who's largely considered to be a pioneer of the second wave of black metal, who would you consider to be your influences, and are there any bands presently that really make you excited about the black metal genre?
Yeah, there are some bands like that, Spell Omega, for instance. It's pretty interesting, their approach, you know, in music, like how they make it in this complexity, and I think it's very interesting. Some of the other bands too, like Shining, is kind of interesting. They go into this kind of black metal pop way, or I don't know, but total sick at the same time.
Now, Maniac, he's been working with Shining, right?
They had a band called what's the name of the band? Skid Live, of course.
Skid Live?
Yeah, and Niklas from Shining played the guitar in that. So
Oh, wow.
that's the connection, I think. I don't know if he played ever in Shining or not, but I bet he didn't. I think it's Skid Live and they play together. So that's good. But I miss some guys, you know. I haven't heard much from Roger from Carpathian Forest, you know. So he should kick back with some cool black metal rock and roll stuff, you know. Yeah, Gorgoroth, we'll see what's gonna happen with this Godseed stuff, you know. So things are going on.
With the Godseed stuff, so the Gaul side of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think of the Infernus side of it?
I mean, I don't know. I saw their first show. That was okay at in Bergen, on Hall in the Sky.
Uh-huh.
So he's a good friend of mine, you know. So
Infernus?
yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him though for a while. So, but we used to hang out. So I don't know what's going on there. I can't follow, you know, I don't follow that much the scene actually.
Okay.
I like to listen different style of music, like industrial or
Skinny Puppy?
stuff like that.
Ministry.
New stuffs, Ministry, Combi Crash, stuff like that. I like to listen like Diamanda and old stuff, you know, so, or like experimental music. So I don't follow that detailed what's going on in the scene, you know. If I listen metal, I like to put on my old favorites, you know.
Of course.
Still, so
I mean, the performance art aspect of Mayhem Live, you kind of remind me of Nivik Ogre in concert, the way you have all the elaborate costumes and blood and everything. I mean, that's cool.
cool.
So, how did you originally get into metal music?
Oh, I was very young, man. It was the first thing that touched me. Like, of course, I already listened a little bit of music, but when I was like 10 years old, I heard like Motorhead, Kiss, you know, AC/DC, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest. These were the first influences, the classics, absolutely. But I was like a kid. So then I was keep going on, and that was, of course, in the mid of 80s, and there was like this trend to look for the more and more extreme stuff, you know. Everything was just like growing. So actually, I had a period when I listened a lot of punk, like All Exploited and Dead Kennedys, Discharge. This was really cool. And then
GBH?
GBH, of
GBH,
course.
of course.
That was the best, probably my favorite. But then I discovered Venom, and that was the first kick in my balls to go for extreme metal, And then, of course, all the bands, Sodom Destruction, they came in, in the same time. So I just hooked up on that totally, and then I started to play myself too. But in the same time, I already heard about, because, in Hungary, the extreme metal scene was a little bit separated from the heavy metal scene in the beginning, or black metal scene. So it was some heavy metal kids came, but the audience was this kind of more complex, for like a lot of punks and dark, and like even skinheads were there, and different from different music genres, So that's how I heard about all these different musics too, very early, like old psychobilly bands like Meteors or Skinny Puppy, back in the 80s. So I was very fascinated and inspired by it, like any form, like how you can play in different form of music, but it's all about the same dark aspect of the nature, So this is how I just grown up with this more music, different styles in the same time, where I played.
That's how you
black
dipped into
metal.
the counterculture and all that.
Maybe.
Very cool. Thanks for taking the time to talk metal with me today, Attila. Before we wrap this up, do you have any last words for your fans watching at home?
Yeah, man, it's fucking cool to be here in Texas, Austin. You shoot what moves, right?
Right?
Right on, man. Horse up. It's awesome. You guys are cool. So, come and see our show. Be there. Be there, because you can't be here all the time.